Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, and are you ready for a new week here, not only in life, but on here on Inspiration for Today? I hope you are. Have a good week planned, one that is going to help you in your walk with the Lord. And what more, and start each day off on a positive note. We are going to look this week at the most inspirational verses in the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah, one of the major prophets of the Old Testament. Are you familiar with the book? I don't know if you are. Many people are not. But let me just tell you this. You are familiar with a lot of the verses. And if you're not, you need to be. And if you stay with me all week, you will be. We're going to start today with a verse that's known as God's telephone number. God's telephone number. Yes, it's known as that. It's kind of a nickname type thing. Why do I say that? Well, by the way, do you know what that is? It's Jeremiah 33 3. Jeremiah 33 3. Why does it have that nickname? Here's the verse. Call to me, and I will answer you. In other words, call. Call to me, and I will answer, and I'll tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know. What a great verse. Call to me, and I will answer. Wow, man, this is a thing. By the way, let me put it in a little context. It was a tough time there in Israel. They had been under the rule of Assyria. It was breaking up, and now the people were unrepentant. And it appeared, and this is all around 600 years before Christ. Babylon was getting more and more powerful, and indeed they would be coming in and taking over, and actually taking many of the Hebrews captive and taken to Babylon. But he says, in the midst of all those issues, by the way, Jeremiah was indeed in prison at this time. It's mentioned in verse 1 of this chapter 33 that he's in prison. Jerusalem was under siege. Things seemed hopeless. Its verse was not spoken from the mountaintop. It was spoken from deep depths of problems. You see, God's not waiting for us to have everything together and lined up. No, He's ready and waiting for you to call on Him. And that is how the verse begins. He says, call to me, call to me. Interesting word in the Hebrew, kara, and it means just everyday term, not a formal religious term or anything else like, hey, you might kara across the room, shout to somebody over there. That's all it is. Doesn't have to be a fancy thing. No. Sometimes people say, well, I don't know how to pray. I don't know the fancy words. I don't know how to make great sentences. Remember, this is God speaking. Jeremiah the prophet is merely writing down God's words. And God says, Kara. He says, yes, yell out to me. Just yell out to me. That's all you need to know. And sometimes we don't have great prayers lined up. You know, I'm dealing with somebody today that indeed has so many issues. She's in the hospital, and it's not any one, well, it is one thing that got her in the hospital, but she's probably got five major things. And the husband just called to me, called for prayer. And I hardly know how to pray. or what to pray for. And so, you know what? Sometimes you call out to somebody, you just say, help, help. And I don't know, I've many times, I've just called out, help, Lord, help, Lord. Can you say that? If you're ever in trouble, if you were trapped somewhere and you were hoping somebody to yell out to somebody to come, if you were in a pit, let's say, you'd just be yelling, help, help. Maybe that's your prayer. You know what? That's enough. Call to me. And what does God say? I will answer. I will answer you. Not, I might answer or I'll answer when I get around to it. No, he says what? I will answer. And that's a commitment. And remember when we talked just a few weeks about God is faithful. God is faithful. If he says it, he will do it. He cannot lie. That's not in his nature. He absolutely cannot do it. Sometimes he doesn't answer exactly as we want. Sometimes he takes longer than we want. But God does say what? I will answer. Now, I'd encourage you to pray, thy will be done. That's what the Lord's Prayer encourages us to do. Thy will be done. As we see it limitedly, we might not even know exactly what the right prayer would be, but we do know this. We want to hear from God, and we will hear from God. And the temptation, if it takes too long, is to stop calling, but don't, don't. And what does he further promise? And I will tell you great and unsearchable things that you do not know. Sometimes what we do get out of praying is that God does reveal things to us. When we pray, he brings knowledge and perspective that's only available through our relationship with God. He is amazing and mighty. Man, you can ask what God sometimes, if you in your prayer, you might say, God, reveal to me your perfect answer. What do you want me to know about this point? You know, Jeremiah, as I said earlier, was in prison when he prayed this, and he was confined at the time. Jerusalem was surrounded. It was tough. And God said, call to me, call to me, and I will answer and tell you great, great, and unsearchable things that you do not know. Can you do that today? Can you, if you're in need, bring it to the Lord. Even if all you can say is help, Lord, help. That's enough. Now tomorrow we're going to go to another amazing verse, and I searched, I found that back in 2019, Pastor Jeff and I talked about the very next verse. And so I'm just going to replay that old show talking about Jeremiah 29:11. It's amazing. Most searched verse in one of the most searched verses in all the Bible. Hey, see you tomorrow.